Welcome back, my Jedi friends, and today I'm going to mix two of my interests, talking about energy and history, folks, history. And in the background there's a statue of Julius Caesar, who is one of the most influential people from throughout history, folks. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, and I'm going to apply that to energetic principles. Energetic principles and make gratuitous connections. I'm not going to lie to you, folks. I've got no idea how the content of this is going down as I start recording. Let's just see where it leads. See where it leads. So let's start off. Unlike a lot of great leaders, Julius Caesar came from a very relatively low background. He had no family entitlement. He had no benefits on that. There was no sort of leading. There were no great Caesars. No, there was certainly no people preceding him from his family that was going to give him any sort of leg up. So he had to make his own luck on this front, folks. So that's very relevant because anyone in energy can start from any place, and it's what you make of it. And in many respects, it's a mindset, folks. Working with energy is a mindset. And what you tell yourself is really, really important on a daily basis. So let's look at Caesar's history. Now, here's something not a lot of people know about Caesar, and I love this part. Very early on, when he was a teenager, he was kidnapped by barbarians that could have executed him, and they demanded a ransom. They said they tried to ransom him off, and they said what price they wanted. And Julius Caesar said, "That's not nearly enough. Not for me." He started bigging himself up and saying, "You're not asking for enough ransom." And this obviously entertained the barbarians. They probably liked this sort of mad brand of grandiose, grandiose energy. And so he said, "Look, let me go and get you 10 times the amount." I think it was 10 times. It doesn't matter. It was a lot more than what they asked. He sailed off. He brought back the gold. He gave it to the barbarians. He got all of the party released. And then he went back afterwards and slayed them all. He slayed them all and got his money back. Well, I think he got his money back. So from a young age, Julius Caesar wasn't afraid of really dodgy situations. And he would energize himself into alpha state when he was out of his comfort zone. Now, he had that energy from a very young age to have that confidence, which could have got him killed in a different set of circumstances. So he was obviously a great talker. He could obviously entertain, he could obviously talk. He was obviously very charismatic from a young age. And charisma is an energy which really you can call on quite often. Having charisma is definitely going to help you. But the main thing here, folks, the energy of confidence, nothing really beats that. To have the confidence to go into situations, to get outcomes, to have the mindset to be telling yourself that. And this is really important when we deal with energy, getting the right mindset, getting our mind in the right place, that you are going to achieve it, having a goal, I am going to achieve it, and getting your energy right. Because if you're getting in the energy that I am going to achieve this goal rather than, oh no, what am I going to do? There's very different. And people that work with energy tend to be quite empathic. And I realized that Julius Caesar was almost definitely a narcissist. So we're sort of modeling somebody that I sort of talk a lot about not becoming. But for empaths, folks, for highly sensitive people, you have a skill set that you can empathize, you can energize with any type of person. And sometimes having the confidence of a narcissist is not a bad thing. Narcissists have certain traits which is good to call on occasionally. Just because that person is all bad doesn't mean that all of their behaviors are all bad. Everything has a time and a place. And in the energy world, my Jedi friends, everything is based on paradoxes. So for those that have been on courses with me, you'll realize that everything that we talk about in energy has an exception. It has a polar opposite set of circumstances where the opposite is relevant. So Everything that we talk about is very individual. And for you to do something might not be as aligned as for someone else to do it. So we're all on our own journey in the energy world. And Julius Caesar was definitely on his own journey. Now, this story obviously did the rounds, and he got back to Rome and he built up a powerful network. Really important, folks. Your network is your net worth. And being charismatic, he was able to build alliances with more senior figures in Rome. So there was a triumvirate with him and Pompey. And the third name of the triumvirate slips my mind momentarily, folks. It may come back, but three very powerful people, all of who had money and status around him. And he had the charisma. And they thought, oh, this nice, lowly person. Um, in fact, there's been a lot of things from history where people have underestimated someone, thought we'll be able to control him. So the other two made Caesar head of the armies and they sent him off because that way they knew that they had control of him because he didn't have the status, he didn't have the credibility that any of the others. So they always thought that they were going to be the puppet masters for him and they sent him off on his merry way. Now, this is where it gets interesting. It turns out Caesar was quite a tactician. Caesar was able to plan. Caesar won most battles before they even begun. He was the Sun Tzu of his era. Win most battles before you even start to fight. And Caesar used an array of different tactics in battles and was a hugely successful general and conquered the whole of Gaul. And when all of the tribes united against him, Caesar was able to beat them by building a double fortified fort. So as he was blockading people into their city, people were attacking him from the outside as well. So he had a double fort to stop people getting out and to stop people getting in. It was genius from a construction point of view. And from an energy point of view, folks, having the capacity to protect, to defend your energy is a very important point. Caesar did this very well. Protect your own first, protect your energy, set your energy space. And this is a very valuable lesson from the world of energy, folks, that we need to protect our own energy, or at least we need to set the parameters. There are some of my friends that say protection actually has a negative connotation because it makes us, the belief that's inherent with the word is that we're under attack. Now, we could be, but there's other people that say just show up in your own energy. You don't need to protect yourself from anyone. You just show up as you and set your parameters, set your energy. So that has to feel right for you. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm saying that there's different ways. But the point being, whether you're protecting or you're setting your energy, is that you have to set energy. You have to be ready for whatever comes at you. Now, if you're going into an environment, you don't know what's going to happen. There could be negativity there. You need to have your energy set. And this was something that Caesar did particularly well. And of course, he conquered Gaul and his reputation got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And at this stage, he had the undivided loyalty of the entire army. And of course, in Rome at that time, no one was allowed to march the armies into Rome. That's the whole thing about the Rubicon. The Rubicon River is the river where you're not allowed to bring armies into. Caesar decided, right, fuck it. I'm going to take control of the of things in Rome, and eventually decided, right, I'm going to take over. I'm going to be a Caesar. I want to rule, and bollocks to everybody else. And he broke the golden rule. He marched the army across the Rubicon. So this whole thing across the Rubicon, this is where it actually comes from. He crossed the Rubicon River with the army, which was a big no-no. But I mean, if you've got an army that big, who's going to tell him not to? Who's going to tell him not to, folks? So this is another thing. Caesar made his own rules. At a time where rules were in place, he broke them when it suited him. I'm not telling you that breaking rules is a good thing, but some rules are there to be broken, folks. And certainly when we're breaking through energetic dynamics, family bullshit, stuff that's imposed upon us, the ability, the critical ability to think outside of the box and to create rules that feel right for you. Now, obviously, he was a megalomaniac. He was taking over Rome. But this was the other part of Caesar when he did march into Rome with the army. He had a very good rapport with the people. He understood the people's needs. The people loved Caesar. And this made everybody in the Senate really fearful, really fearful. Nobody really liked it. So I believe Cassius was the missing link that I missed. So Cassius, he decided, fuck this, we better get out of Rome. This man's a lunatic. He's a megalomaniac lunatic. And so did Pompey. And they all left. They all left Rome to consolidate, to get armies to overthrow Caesar, which they attempted to do. They went off, they consolidated, and Caesar took Rome. He took it. It was unprecedented at the time. He had a goal and he took it, and then they came for him. Now, Caesar, being the general that he had and setting his energy, of being ready for stuff, of having the undivided loyalty of the right people around him, folks. This is massive for highly sensitive people. You need to surround yourself by good people, trusted that you can trust their counsel, people, if you might be wavering, that have your back. And this was something that Caesar did. He was charismatic. He had the people. The people loved Caesar. They loved him. And of course, he was the first ever Caesar. He changed the rules. He crowned himself, and no one could argue with him. No one could argue with Caesar because he made his own rules and he was all powerful. He went in, he was popular with the people, and when they came at him, he fought off Pompey, his once good friend. Now, bear in mind that Pompey was also married to Caesar's daughter, who died in childbirth, and everything was hunky-dory up until that. So he made the right blood alliances as well. But I'm not quite sure how I'm going to tie that into an energy thing. Marrying off your sister is probably not the way it could work. Maybe that is in some level useful. Your brother-in-law could come in handy. Who knows, folks? Who knows? But he was very strategic. He was very strategic. So he pretty much fought off all foes. Now, he didn't have any kids of his own. So Caesar also set up a succession plan. Now, there were a lot of people that thought they were going to be taking over, including Mark Antony, the big fallout Mark Antony. But Caesar didn't see in Mark Antony the future ruler, but he did in Augustus Caesar, or Octavian, who was his adopted son. And Octavian, or Augustus Caesar, turned out not only to succeed Caesar, but to be one of the most successful rulers ever. So not only was Caesar a great leader, but he had a great succession plan. And it wasn't based on family, folks. Well, there was a loose family connection, but he had no kids, which means that he wasn't stuck with, he could have had an idiot kid that could have taken over. And a lot of dynasties have fallen down because of that, because the son or the daughter just wasn't anywhere close to being in the same ballpark as the father passing it down, or the mother in some cases. But there were no, I don't believe there were any female Caesars. That wasn't on the table, folks. That was not on the table. So he was successful. He was ultimately murdered very young. The Senate turned on him because he became too powerful, became too popular with the people. And, even supposed friends turned on him. He was stabbed. That's the Ides of March, folks. And beware the Ides of March. That was when Caesar met his end. And I believe he was only 34 at the time. And he achieved all of these things. So, from an energy perspective, folks, he had the mindset, he had the right mindset, had confidence and charisma. Now, with charisma comes confidence, confidence and charisma. These are energies that we could all work on. Because having the confidence to know that not every healing, not every energy thing, people aren't going to understand it. It's not going to be what they expected. People are going to doubt you. And there must have been a lot of doubt along the way for Caesar. So to hold your own energy, to hold your own confidence, to be aware that some people are going to have different expectations around you. And I think there's a lot to be learned from this, my Jedi friends. A lot to be learned from Julius there. He taught us a lot. He died young. He created an empire. He created a dynasty, folks. A dynasty. Because the empire that he started, even though it was split, the Roman Empire eventually split to the east and the west. And although Rome was sacked, the Eastern Empire or the Byzantine Empire was going and going and going. So after Caesar, there was over 1,000 years of successful rule in the wake of what he started. And it was him that started it, folks. He was the first Caesar. He was the man. He had the energy. He knew how to defend himself. He knew how to set himself, surround himself with with the good people. And he had the confidence and charisma to carry it off. And all of these elements, when we're doing energy, when we're working with energy, are things that we can draw upon. Having the confidence, regardless what anyone else thinks, you're likely to get attacked, and people close to you may attack you as well. But you have to stay on your course and believe in yourself. And this is the biggest of the lot. Caesar believed in himself, even when everybody else around him was doubting it. He kept the energy and charisma to inspire those around him. And that is what working with energy is all about. Whatever anyone else thinks, you stay on your path, you stay in your lane, you do good, you set your energy, and you protect yourself when you need to, folks. So there you go, a little history lesson and a little energy lesson all wrapped into one. I'll be very interested to get your thoughts, my Jedi friends. Do you have the same love of history as I do? And is there any particular historical figure that you would like to know more about? Because I am a bit of a geek when it comes to these things, and I do love a bit of history. So there you go, folks. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please do like and subscribe to the channel for more of my random musings. Speaking of which, you will find another one there. So my Jedi friends, be Caesar, be a Caesar, and take his confidence, energy, and charisma into whatever you do and the principles of that. And you will be an energetic leader.